General Krathvek stood on the command bridge of his massive warship, the Eternal Dominion, as it descended through Earth's atmosphere. The blue marble of a planet looked so peaceful from space, almost innocent. His 4 eyes gleamed with amusement as he watched the primitive human cities grow larger in the view screen. "Sir, the humans are broadcasting surrender terms again," reported his communications officer, a nervous Zephyrian with pale green skin. Krathvek's mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his species. The Thacarian general stood nearly 9 feet tall, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming black under the bridge lights. His massive clawed hands could crush steel, and his species had conquered 47 worlds in the past decade alone. "Ignore their pathetic pleas," he rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. "These soft-skinned creatures think they can negotiate with the Galactic Empire. They have nothing we want except their submission." The conquest of Earth was supposed to be routine. Humans had barely mastered interplanetary travel, while the Empire spanned half the galaxy. Their technology was laughably primitive, their military forces scattered and weak. Intelligence reports showed they still used chemical propulsion and kinetic weapons. It would be like crushing insects. "General, we're receiving a transmission from the surface," the communications officer said, tentacles dancing over his control panel. "It's from their planetary leader. Put it through. Let me hear what the human has to say before I crush their world." The main screen flickered to life, showing a middle-aged human woman in a simple blue suit. She stood in what appeared to be an underground bunker, her face calm despite the massive alien warship hovering over her capital city. "I am President Chen of the United Earth Federation," she said, her voice steady. "We request a meeting to discuss terms." Krathvek leaned back in his command throne, amused. "Terms? You are in no position to negotiate, human. Your world belongs to the Empire now. We propose a meeting between our species representatives," President Chen continued as if he hadn't spoken. "A demonstration of our respective capabilities, if you will. Single combat between champions." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of machinery. Several officers exchanged glances, unsure if they had heard correctly. Krathvek's laughter boomed across the bridge. "Single combat? You want your champion to face one of ours?" His mandibles clicked rapidly in amusement. "This is rich. Your species truly is as primitive as our reports indicated. If our champion wins, you leave our system and never return," President Chen said. "If yours wins, we surrender unconditionally. And why would I agree to such foolishness when I could simply glass your planet from orbit?" "Because," Chen smiled slightly, "where's the sport in that? Your species values strength and combat prowess above all else, according to our intelligence. Surely you're not afraid of a single human." The insult hit home. Krathvek's eyes narrowed to slits, and his claws scraped against his throne's armrests. No one questioned Thacarian courage. No one. "Very well, human. I accept your challenge. But I will face your champion myself. I want the pleasure of breaking your strongest warrior with my own hands." "Excellent," Chen replied. "The meeting will take place at the coordinates I'm transmitting now. An abandoned warehouse district in what you call Sector 7. 1 hour. "Fine. But know this, human. When I am finished with your champion, your species will learn what true despair feels like." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in tense silence. "Sir," ventured the tactical officer, a mantis-like Vorthak, "surely you don't intend to face some primitive human yourself? Send a squad of shock troopers." Krathvek stood to his full imposing height. "These humans need to understand their place in the galactic order. When I tear their champion apart with my bare hands, their spirits will be completely broken. It will make the occupation much easier." He strode toward the exit, his heavy footsteps echoing through the corridors. "Besides, it has been too long since I've had proper entertainment. Human bones should snap quite satisfyingly." An hour later, Krathvex materialized in the abandoned warehouse district via transport beam. The area was deserted, filled with crumbling concrete buildings and rusted metal structures, primitive even by human standards. He walked confidently through the empty streets, his sensors detecting no immediate threats. A few surveillance drones buzzed overhead, no doubt broadcasting his arrival to the rest of the planet. Good. Let them all watch their champion fall. The designated meeting point was a large warehouse with broken windows and graffiti-covered walls. Krathvex pushed through the main entrance, ducking slightly to fit through the human-sized doorway. The interior was dimly lit by shafts of sunlight streaming through gaps in the roof. Dust motes danced in the air, and the smell of rust and decay filled his nostrils. At the center of the space, a single human figure waited. Krathvex paused, studying his opponent. The human champion was unremarkable. Average height, maybe 6 feet tall, brown hair, brown eyes, wearing simple military fatigues. No visible weapons, no armor, nothing special about him at all. "I am General Krathvex, Supreme Commander of the 7th Galactic Fleet," he announced, his voice echoing in the empty space. "I have conquered worlds and crushed armies. I am death incarnate." The human looked up calmly. "I'm Sergeant Martinez, Earth Defense Corps. Nice to meet you." Krathvex blinked all 4 eyes in confusion. This was their champion? This ordinary-looking soldier? "Where are your weapons, human? Your armor? Do you not understand that this is a fight to the death?" Martinez shrugged. "Don't need weapons or armor. And yeah, I understand perfectly." The general's mandibles clicked in amusement. "The arrogance of your species knows no bounds. Do you have any idea what I am capable of? I can punch through a foot of steel. My exoskeleton can deflect plasma bolts. I have killed creatures that would give your nightmares nightmares." "That's nice," Martinez replied, rolling his shoulders to loosen them up. "You ready to start this thing? I've got dinner plans later." Krathvex stared at the human in disbelief. Either this creature was completely insane, or humans were even more primitive than he'd thought. Perhaps they didn't truly understand the concept of death. "Very well," he growled. "I shall make this quick." The Thakarian general charged forward, his massive frame thundering across the warehouse floor. His clawed hands reached out to grab the human and snap his spine like a twig. Martinez didn't move until the last possible second. Then he stepped slightly to the left. Krathvex's charge carried him past the human, his claws grasping nothing but air. Confused, he spun around, looking for his opponent. Martinez was standing exactly where he'd been before, hands at his sides, looking perfectly relaxed. "Missed me," the human said conversationally. Rage flared in Krathvex's chest. No one made a fool of him. He charged again, this time swinging his massive fist in a crushing blow that could pulverize stone. Again, Martinez moved at the last second, ducking under the swing with fluid grace. The general's fist smashed into a concrete pillar, reducing it to rubble. "Ooh, close one," Martinez commented, dusting concrete powder off his shoulder. This was impossible. Humans were supposed to be slow, clumsy, weak. Yet this one moved like smoke, like water, always just out of reach. Krathvex unleashed a flurry of attacks, his claws slashing through the air fast enough to blur. Each strike was precise, calculated, deadly. Each one found nothing but empty space. Martinez weaved between the attacks as if he were dancing, never seeming hurried or panicked. Occasionally, he would reach out and tap the general's carapace as he passed, a casual gesture that somehow made the failure even more humiliating. "How?" Krathvex snarled, breathing heavily despite his enhanced physiology. "How are you doing this?" "Doing what?" Martinez asked innocently. "You're the one doing all the work. I'm just standing here." The general's tactical mind began to work despite his rage. This human wasn't just fast. He was predicting the attacks before they came, reading body language, watching for tells, staying one step ahead. But that was impossible. Humans were primitives. They couldn't possess such advanced combat skills. "Stop running and fight me!" Krathvex roared. "I'm not running," Martinez pointed out reasonably. "I'm right here, and I'm not the one who wanted to fight. You came to my planet, remember?" The reminder stoked the general's fury. He had conquered worlds. He had crushed the finest warriors of a dozen species. He would not be made to look foolish by some backwater primitive. Drawing on reserves of speed he rarely needed, Krathvex launched himself forward in a desperate lunge, all four arms extended to grab the elusive human. This time, instead of dodging, Martinez stepped forward to meet him. The warehouse fell silent, except for the sound of settling dust. The human's secret Krathvex lay on the warehouse floor, staring up at the broken ceiling in complete shock. His body felt wrong, disconnected somehow. When he tried to move his arms, nothing happened. Looking down, he saw empty space where his upper limbs should be. His two massive arms, each capable of crushing steel, were simply gone. Not cut off, not torn away, completely absent, as if they had never existed. "What did you do to me?" he whispered, his voice barely audible. Sergeant Martinez crouched beside him, his expression sympathetic rather than triumphant. "I removed your arms. Don't worry. They're not destroyed, just displaced." "That's impossible. Humans don't have that technology. You can't just make matter disappear." Martinez nodded thoughtfully. "You're right about the technology part. We don't have tech like that. This isn't about technology at all." The general tried to understand what had happened. One moment he had been lunging forward with unstoppable force, and the next he was on the ground, armless. The human hadn't even seemed to move. "Then how?" Krathvex demanded, struggling to sit up without his arms to help. His species' pride warred with his desperate need to understand. "That's a long story," Martinez said, settling into a more comfortable position. "See, your intelligence reports about humans were both completely right and totally wrong." He gestured to the warehouse around them. "You're right that we're primitive compared to the rest of the galaxy. Our technology is barely beyond chemical rockets and kinetic weapons. We can't travel faster than light without your help, can't manipulate gravity, can't do any of the fancy stuff your empire takes for granted." Krathvex listened in growing confusion. If humans were as primitive as he'd thought, then what had just happened made no sense at all. "But here's what your scouts missed," Martinez continued. "Humans have been fighting each other for our entire existence, not just armies against armies, but individual against individual. We've spent thousands of years learning how to hurt each other in every way possible. Combat training, that's your secret?" The general's mandibles clicked in disbelief. "Every species has warriors. The Thakarian Military Academy produces the finest fighters in the galaxy." "Does it, though?" Martinez asked mildly. "Tell me, General, when was the last time you personally fought for your life? Not commanded a battle, not led troops into combat, but actually faced an enemy who was trying to kill you with their bare hands?" Krathvex opened his mouth to answer, then stopped. When had he last engaged in personal combat? Years ago? Decades? His position meant he directed battles from command ships, protected by layers of shields and armor. "I thought so," Martinez nodded. "You're like most galactic species. Once you developed advanced technology, personal combat became obsolete. Why learn to fight when you have energy weapons and powered armor?" The human stood and walked to a pile of scrap metal, absently bending a steel rod into a pretzel with his bare hands. Krathvex's eyes widened at the casual display of strength. "Humans never stop fighting up close," Martinez explained. "Even after we invented guns, we kept learning hand-to-hand combat. Even after we built tanks, we still practiced boxing, wrestling, martial arts. We have hundreds of different fighting styles, each one designed to help a smaller, weaker person defeat a larger, stronger opponent." "Fighting styles cannot explain what you did to my arms," Martinez grinned. You're right again. Fighting styles alone wouldn't be enough. But humans develop something else too. We call it pressure points, nerve clusters, biomechanical weak spots. We learned that no matter how big or strong someone is, there are always places where the right touch can disable them instantly. He demonstrated on himself, pressing a spot on his wrist that made his hand go numb for a moment. Every species has them. Nerve clusters that, when disrupted, can cause paralysis, unconsciousness, or in your case, temporary limb displacement. Limb displacement is not possible through pressure points. It is when you know exactly where to press and exactly how hard to press, Martinez corrected. Your species' exoskeleton has micro-joints at the shoulder connection points. Press them in just the right sequence, with precisely the right amount of force, and the neural feedback loop gets confused. Your brain temporarily forgets your arms exist, so from your body's perspective, they don't. Krath Vex stared at the human in horror. You studied our anatomy? We studied everyone's anatomy. Thacarian, Zephyrian, Vorthak, all the major galactic species. Your empire has been expanding for decades. Did you think we weren't paying attention? The truth hit the general like a physical blow. While his people had dismissed humans as primitives, those same primitives had been carefully studying every species in the empire, learning their weaknesses, developing countermeasures. That's why we propose single combat, Martinez continued conversationally. Your technology is better than ours. Your ships, weapons, armor, all superior. But take away the tech, make it person against person. And suddenly the playing field is very different. You planned this entire scenario. President Chen is a smart lady. She figured you'd be too proud to send a subordinate. Most military commanders from advanced species are the same. They've forgotten how to actually fight. Krath Vex felt a chill that had nothing to do with the warehouse's temperature. How many other species have you studied? All of them, Martinez said simply. Every member of your empire. Every potential ally or enemy. We've been preparing for first contact for 50 years, ever since we detected your expansion pattern. The implications were staggering. Humans had been systematically cataloging the weaknesses of every advanced species in the galaxy while appearing completely primitive and harmless. My fleet, the general started. We'll be leaving our system according to the terms of our agreement, Martinez finished. Unless you'd like to go another round, I can put your arms back if you want to try again. For a moment, Krath Vex considered it. His pride demanded satisfaction, demanded that he prove Thacarian superiority. But his tactical mind was already racing through the implications. If this one human could neutralize him so easily, what could an army of humans do? If they had studied pressure points and weak spots for every species, you would have defeated any champion we sent, he realized. Probably. We've had volunteers training to fight each specific species for years. You would have faced someone who knew exactly how to shut down a Thacarian nervous system within seconds. Martinez walked back over and knelt beside the general. Now, I'm going to put your arms back. Fair warning, there might be some tingling as sensation returns. He pressed a different sequence of points on Krath Vex's shoulders. Immediately, feeling rushed back into the general's upper limbs, followed by the physical mass of his arms themselves. He flexed his claws experimentally, marveling at the absence of pain or damage. How is this possible? He whispered. Human neurology and galactic medicine don't mix well, Martinez explained. What seems like magic to you is just applied biology to us. We've had to understand how our own bodies work because we couldn't rely on advanced medical technology to fix everything. Krath Vex slowly stood, his arms working perfectly despite their temporary absence. The human had completely disabled him, then casually restored him without causing any permanent damage. The level of precise control required was beyond anything in the Empire's medical archives. There's something else you should know, Martinez added, his tone becoming more serious. This warehouse isn't empty. The general's sensors immediately went active, scanning for threats. Now that he knew to look for it, he could detect them. Dozens of human heat signatures hidden throughout the building. They had been there the entire time, watching, waiting. Snipers? He asked. Specialists, each one trained to fight a different galactic species. If you had brought backup, they would have faced opponents specifically designed to counter their abilities. Krathvex looked around the warehouse with new eyes. What had seemed like a simple meeting place was actually an elaborate trap designed to neutralize any force the Empire might have sent. You weren't just confident in your champion, he said slowly. You were prepared for war. We're always prepared for war, Martinez replied matter-of-factly. It's what humans do best. We hope for peace, but we prepare for the worst possible scenario. The general's respect for these primitive humans was growing by the minute. They had turned their technological disadvantage into a strategic advantage, using their enemies' overconfidence against them. What happens now? He asked. Martinez smiled. Now you go back to your ship and leave our system, just like the agreement said. But first, there's someone who wants to meet you. A new voice echoed through the warehouse. General Krathvex, I presume. The general turned to see another human approaching, this one older, wearing the insignia of a senior military officer. I'm General Rodriguez, Earth Defense Corps, the newcomer said. I think it's time we had a more detailed conversation about the future of human-galactic relations. The new Alliance General Rodriguez was everything Sergeant Martinez was not. Tall, imposing, with silver hair and scars that spoke of real combat experience. But his eyes held the same calm confidence that had so unsettled Krathvex. Please, General, walk with me, Rodriguez said, gesturing toward the warehouse exit. I think you'll find our conversation enlightening. Krathvex hesitated. His shuttle was still in orbit, and he could transport out at any moment. But his curiosity was stronger than his caution. These humans had already surprised him beyond belief. What other secrets might they reveal? They walked through the abandoned district, Martinez following at a respectful distance. The sun was setting, casting long shadows between the crumbling buildings. Your sergeant mentioned that humans have been preparing for galactic contact, Krathvex said. How long have you known about the Empire? Officially, about 60 years, Rodriguez replied. We detected the energy signatures from your faster-than-light drives when your fleet started expanding into this galaxy arm. Unofficially, we've been watching the stars for signs of intelligence since we first developed radio telescopes. They passed through what had once been a factory district. To Krathvex's surprise, many of the buildings weren't actually abandoned. They were cleverly disguised training facilities. Through broken windows, he glimpsed humans sparring with holographic projections of various alien species. Your people trained to fight enemies you had never met? We trained to fight anyone we might need to fight, Rodriguez confirmed. Humans have a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. We hoped galactic species would be peaceful. We prepared for the alternative. A chill ran down Krathvex's spine as he realized the implications. The Empire's intelligence reports had completely missed a planet-wide military preparation spanning decades. Earth wasn't a primitive world caught off guard by galactic contact. It was a fortress disguised as a garden. How many soldiers do you have? He asked quietly. Rodriguez smiled. Every human is a soldier, General. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. When we detected galactic expansion patterns, we simply redirected that natural aggression toward a common external threat. They stopped at an overlook that provided a view of the city below. In the fading light, Krathvex could see the truth Rodriguez was showing him. What appeared to be civilian infrastructure was actually military in nature. Subway tunnels that were too wide, buildings with unusual ventilation systems, parks with suspiciously clear lines of sight. Your entire civilization is militarized. Not militarized, prepared, Rodriguez corrected. We still have art, music, literature, families. But we also have 8 billion people who know how to fight, and who will fight to protect what they love. The number staggered Krathvex. The entire Thakarian military numbered in the millions. Even the full Imperial forces were only in the hundreds of millions. 8 billion, he whispered. 8 billion humans who've spent their lives studying how to defeat every species in your empire, Rodriguez confirmed. We know your weaknesses, your tactics, your technology's limitations. More importantly, we know how to turn our technological disadvantages into strategic advantages. They walked down into the city proper, where normal human life was evident. Restaurants, shops, families walking together. But now, Krathvex saw the hidden military aspects everywhere. Children playing games that taught tactical thinking. Teenagers practicing martial arts in public parks. Adults whose casual conversations revealed detailed knowledge of galactic politics and warfare. "You're showing me this for a reason," the general observed. "Because your empire is about to face a choice," Rodriguez said seriously. "You can continue your expansion as you have been, conquering primitive worlds and enslaving weaker species. Or you can learn to coexist with a species that won't be conquered." They stopped outside a small cafe where humans were dining peacefully. Through the window, Krathvex noticed something that made his blood freeze. Detailed anatomical charts of various galactic species hanging on the wall like artwork. "Your people study alien anatomy in restaurants?" "Dr. Kim's Diner," Rodriguez read from the sign. "Dr. Kim is a xenobiologist. She's identified 17 different pressure points specific to Zephyrian physiology, 12 for Vorthax, and 23 for your people. She serves excellent noodles, too." The casual nature of it was perhaps the most terrifying thing yet. These weren't military secrets locked away in classified facilities. They were common knowledge shared over dinner. "Every human knows how to kill my species? Every human knows how to disable, incapacitate, or neutralize your species," Rodriguez corrected. "We prefer non-lethal solutions when possible. Death is so permanent." They continued walking, passing a school where young humans were learning what appeared to be xenobiology and galactic languages alongside traditional subjects. The normalization of preparation for galactic conflict was complete. "What do you want from the Empire?" Krathvex asked finally. "Trade, cultural exchange, peaceful coexistence, the same things any civilized species wants," Rodriguez replied. "But we want them as equals, not as conquered subjects. The Empire doesn't negotiate with primitives. Then the Empire is going to have problems, because we're not going anywhere, and we're not going to submit." Rodriguez stopped walking and turned to face the general directly. "Let me be very clear about Earth's position. We don't want to fight the Empire. War is expensive, destructive, and wasteful. But if the Empire insists on treating us as primitives to be conquered, we'll show you just how effective primitives can be." "You would fight the entire Galactic Empire? Thousands of worlds, millions of ships?" "If necessary. But consider this. Your empire relies on advanced technology and overwhelming force. What happens when you face an enemy that can neutralize your technology and turn your own forces against you?" The implication hung in the air between them. Humans had spent decades learning to fight without advanced technology. They had studied every imperial species, learned their weaknesses, developed countermeasures. In a direct confrontation, they might not win, but they would make victory impossibly costly. "You're threatening the Empire." "I'm offering the Empire a choice," Rodriguez corrected. "Mutual respect or mutual destruction. We'd prefer respect, but we're prepared for either outcome." A new voice interrupted their conversation. "General Rodriguez, the Council is ready for the transmission." Krathvex turned to see President Chen approaching, flanked by several other human leaders. She nodded respectfully to the alien general. General Krath Vex, I hope your conversation with our military leadership has been educational. Enlightening, he admitted grudgingly. Excellent, because now we need to discuss the future of imperial human relations with your superiors. Chen gestured toward a building that the general now realized was a sophisticated communications facility disguised as an office complex. You want to speak directly with the Imperial Council? We want to make our position clear to everyone who matters, Chen replied. No misunderstandings, no filtered reports, no diplomatic confusion. Direct communication between equals. Inside the facility, advanced human technology was finally visible. Quantum communication arrays, holographic projectors, and computer systems that rivaled anything in the Empire. The facade of primitiveness was completely dropped here. Your technology, Krath Vex began, is more advanced than our intelligence reports suggested, Chen finished. We've been very careful about what we reveal to galactic observers. Why show your full capabilities to potential enemies? A massive holographic display activated, showing the positions of Imperial fleets throughout the galaxy. The detail was staggering. Real-time locations, ship classifications, even crew numbers. How do you have this information? We've been monitoring Imperial communications for decades, Chen said calmly. Did you think we would remain passive while a galactic empire expanded toward our world? The display shifted to show Earth's defensive capabilities, orbital platforms that had been completely invisible to Imperial sensors, underground facilities spanning continents, and a fleet of ships that somehow existed despite humanity's supposed technological limitations. Impossible, Krath Vex whispered. Improbable, perhaps, but entirely real, Chen replied. We've had 60 years to prepare, General. We've used that time well. The transmission began, connecting directly to the Imperial Council chambers light years away. Krath Vex found himself at the center of a conversation that would reshape galactic politics. As President Chen began speaking to the assembled leaders of the Empire, the general realized that everything had changed. Humans weren't primitives to be conquered. They were a new power to be reckoned with. The Empire's expansion had finally encountered a species that refused to submit and possessed the capability to enforce that refusal. The age of easy conquest was over. The age of negotiation had begun, and it had all started with one overconfident general who had laughed as he entered unarmed and learned the hard way that sometimes the most dangerous enemies are the ones who appear completely harmless.